What's up? So I've been looking into pre-birth memories and pre-birth memories as in not past life regression, but memories of your existence immediately prior to incarnation. And these are really fascinating. It's not something I've really been into very much, but since my last interview about my NDE, I really thought about the reasoning why I was made to come back, where I seemingly didn't really have an option. And there's a lot of people who are going to resort to, jump to conclusions and say, it's the reincarnation soul trap, and you have no options, you have no choices. It's all sinister and evil. There is no good, it's all evil, which is an extremely depressing, dark way of looking at reality, if you ask me. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to go live, talk about that very specific subject because I've been researching this guy who's into that and want to find out what you guys think. And I just find it interesting with these pre birth memories that I did share in a couple of posts, by the way. um, this idea that they seemingly, or at least they felt like they had no choice but to incarnate, at least in the testimonies that I've seen. But then there were also others where they were very excited to incarnate, and it was like almost like a celebration. And what else is interesting is that they had a variety of different forms that they took on. Uh, there were some testimonies that were similar to my experience, being that of a, a, a orb, a sort of energy ball, which is what I was. And there were some people that were like their child selves before they incarnate, and there were some people that were like adults. So I find it fascinating. This one particular individual said that he, like I said, if you go to my post, the community post, you'll see these. But really interesting that he said that he went into this pool of water, and in this Greek Parthenon looking building, and within that pool, he was able to choose his parents. He was able to choose a lot of things, he claims. And he remembers actually seeing the earth, and he described that as a giant ball of evil, which is extremely fascinating because I would probably agree with him on that part to some degree. It's not just a giant ball of evil, obviously. Um, but he recalls being scared and afraid and hesitant, and many people do, which is perfectly reasonable and understandable. I don't see why that would necessarily be something sinister. A lot of people, before they go on a 300 tall roller coaster, or want to poop their pants sometimes. Before I skydived for the first time, I, it was pretty terrifying. There's nothing out of the ordinary with this. And, there's these interesting arguments about how, the life review, I don't know, I'm jumping all over the place. Again, I'm going to get into this at a live stream later on. But the thing of it is it's not unusual or out of the ordinary for a soul to be hesitant or afraid. And I'm sure this isn't the only planet that souls incarnate to prior to their incarnation that they that they have a sense of trepidation or fear. Um, so we shouldn't just necessarily jump to conclusions and say that it's sinister, but the fact that they perceived or they felt like they had no choice, that is another conundrum that um, I've been meditating on for the last few days. And there's all sorts of things we can try to conclude or make sense of to see why that might be. And one of those things may be that it could be the case that, well, your life or your incarnation isn't only about you, it's much bigger than just you. You are part of a development process that you are sort of building something together with your family, your earth family. And in this building process, you're expected to do your duty. And if we consider incarnation as a duty for some souls, possibly, then that would kind of make sense. Where if we're individual cells in the body of God, we have to kind of see ourselves as those cells working together to form a healthily functioning organ, or to repair a sick organ. If you were to consider Earth being like an organ or an organism, many souls possibly might feel compelled that it's their duty to essentially help in the repairing process. And then again, there is not a one size fits all type of way of looking at things like this. It is really silly to jump to conclusions and say, he was forced to come here. It's a reincarnation soul trap. That's all it could be. What else could it be? He has no option. Um, I mean, it does bother me too. I'm, of course, inclined to believe that we are free and sovereign souls, and we are. But there are things that we have to ask ourselves too. Um, there are many possibilities. They could be part of a soul group or an extraterrestrial soul group, for example, that also feel like they have a duty to do something and they are expected to. And this is something that, because for example, if they come from a hive mind sort of race, um, then in that case, they sort of have this mentality that we have to do this. There's also other possibilities here. For example, a lot of spiritual teachers feel that we are sort of like toddlers as soul here in terms of soul development, and I'm definitely inclined to believe that that's true. And when you're a young kid, you're not expected to make your own decisions necessarily. So us as parents, guide our children to school. You can sort of see it possibly as something like that, where it's time to go back to school. You're not ready yet. This sort of that kind of makes sense to me, actually. Until you reach a level of maturity where you're able to make your own decisions as a soul in your incarnation process. So again, it's not necessarily sinister. It actually could be something helpful and beneficial to you as a soul. And there is just so many variables and possibility. It could be like for some souls, like a sort of hazing process, right? Initiation process, maybe. How about that? Why don't we look at that? What if there was a soul that only knew a non-dualistic world that they've always existed in, and they form a group that is, I don't want to use the word cult, but they form a group where they want to experience something different. So it's a sort of hazing ritual, an initiation to incarnate on Earth, and they're expected to do so to be part of this specific group. And then there's the very real possibility that this could be used as an alien sort of prison. Definitely can't discount that possibility, where instead of being sentenced to some whatever on their home planet, they are instead they instead choose or are required to do X amount of incarnations to possibly get rid of a certain behavior that they couldn't get rid of on their home planet or something like that, or they're criminals, pirates. It's all possible and it's all there. It's all possible. Um, it's not necessarily sinister. It doesn't, this ethereal realm is eternal. It existed forever. The word sinister is something just really silly to even try to apply to it because it doesn't really, you can't apply something sinister that existed forever, basically. It's just there, like I discussed in previous videos. And having said that, to conclude, I know I'm all over the place. I'm sorry this video is kind of out there, but I really wanted to talk about this. And as for me personally, why I was made to come back when I could have died at age 19 and, remained in that heavenly ethereal realm and, in pure love and bliss, which I was upset when I was called to come back. It was definitely hurtful. It was definitely upsetting to experience that. But there was a tremendous amount of wisdom emanating from the light. It was so grand and so beautiful and did not have even an inkling of something coercive, something manipulative, or something evil. It was just this tremendous, powerful wisdom that you sort of knew as a soul upon returning back. So you accepted it. And now look what happened though. Like since that age, now I'm 33, there are certainly some things I wish I didn't experience since coming back. And 99% of those things are my own doing, my own mistakes. But there are things that I am deeply grateful for that I wouldn't have gotten to experience had I died at 19. And one of those things is being a father to my son who's about to turn 10 years old in 2 weeks. That is a very tremendous learning experience for me that helped me grow order of magnitudes more. Just being a father and being there. Other things as well. So much I've learned, so much I've experienced, many places I've visited since then that I've never been to before, many people I've interacted with, this channel, the fact that I was able to share my experience with tens of thousands of people, the NDE. And I would like to believe that me sharing this experience helps people. That is my goal. I want people to know that they are eternal and that they are loved. And I feel the reason I had that experience was to share it. And had I died, it wouldn't have been nearly the same. Of course, it is really hard for me here as it is for most people. And I'm really weird and I'm really tired now. I am. As I feel this weariness and this dread, especially of the things that are taking place that are so coercive and manipulative and so tyrannical and evil and pure violations of human rights. And I'm not going to get into what that is, but you already know. But that's what it is, whether you agree or not. Having said that, I'll do a live stream at some point this week. Open-minded, I'm not going to judge anyone. I want to talk about these things, why we're, possibly may not have a choice in incarnations. I know some of you believe in the soul trap, and I'm not against your belief. Believe whatever you want. I don't. But it's okay. We're all trying to decipher this enigma here, right? And ultimately, everything is just what it is and eternal. That is the ultimate reality. But in the meantime, we can try to decipher who we are and what we're doing. So it's healthy to have these conversations. You have a good day.